back, ladies and germs. So now we're to the point where we are going to start soldering everything up. We have our Brain Radix flight controller and PDB. I ordered this, I have a few of these, but I ordered this when I was visiting America because it came with they had a little package deal for Christmas that came with a hat, and I really wanted the hat. And they sent me all this stuff with this little bear. Look, a little skadoosh, a little Santa skadoosh with a little brain belly on it. And it had this little dinosaur glued on top of there. And then it had my very own signed by the brains themselves prop. Thank you, Jennifer. And it was all wrapped up in like a little present with this on top with a little bow and everything on it. It was a really cool little personal touch, and I really liked it. And my favorite part of the whole thing was this teeny little 3D printed brain they sent me. I don't know why, but that just really I really like it. So anyway, here we go with the brain. I'm not going to open these because these are brand new, because I already have some open, because like I said, this is, I started flying this 3 or 4 months ago with it's the setup I really like. This has really changed along with my other gear, my Nirvana, my HDOs with the rapid fire, coupled with the Unify, coupled with this. All these components together really changed my confidence in my flying. So anyway, that being said, here is, this is from another build. Where the hell did it go? Oh, here is the Brain Radix itself. Now, I am not going to go through everything on this because I am going to make some key points on here, but because they have done such an incredibly fantastic job. If you go, and when you get the package, right, it's going to tell you right on the package the website, their website to go to, their user group, their support, everything. And you go to this website and download the manual, and it tells you every single freaking step you need to do for every single component to install this thing. Every TX, every setting, everything. And also on that website is where you're going to have to get the firmware for this, because it has its own firmware, and you can even make your own custom startup splash screen thingy. So when you power on, like mine says, mine has my little yin yang panda bear that says IDGAF on it, which is really freaking cool. So go to get this, go to the website. It even tells you what tools, what wire. I mean, they really did an incredible job on the manual for this thing. So I implore you, you must go read that. And in your in the FC thing, if you're going to use a 4-in-1, it shows you on here exactly how to use the 4-in-1, and you have to unhook the 2 wires, because this will plug directly into one of these Hobbywing G2 4-in-1 ESCs if you so choose to use a 4-in-1. But you do have, if you look at the wiring harnesses, you can see there's a red and black over there, which will then power your the pin out is different, so you need to pop out the 2 wires that are on this one, the red and black, because they are going to be 10 volt instead of 5 volt to power this FC, and then it's powered differently. But anyway, you can go to the website and check all that out. But the things I do want to point out, if you can use any 4-in-1 ESC you want to, or any ESCs you want to, because not only do they have the wiring harness, but it's all broken out in solder pads on the bottom. So if you wanted to use a different 4-in-1, you can just, you know, chop off your little lead and direct solder it all to the bottom. And at that point, on the PDB itself, your telemetry is going, telemetry pins on here are RX4, your UART4. So if you're not using this PDB, then they have UART4 broken out here. So instead of 3 UARTs, you end up with 4 UARTs. But 3 UARTs, you still have 4 UARTs, but one of them, when you use this, is taken up by the ESC telemetry. that's a couple of the things that I wanted to point out. Very easy to set up. I soldered all my stuff on here from the outside, and then we'll put it on there and plug everything in, because this just plugs right in and we're good to go. I already flashed my firmware on here. I always flash my boards before I install them and start to configure them to make sure that everything is working fine before I put the board in there and find out I got a DOA board or something like that. Or I make sure it's working fine in there, and then if it doesn't work once I installed it in the quad, I know it's something I did wrong, and I can usually trace it back and figure out what went wrong. So there's that. Another cool thing that I like about this, some people do and don't, is that instead of a boot loader button, they have a boot pin that is top and bottom, which I was kind of at first, but after installing this and reflashing the firmware, you know, I have really large fingers. I've been turning bolts all my life and working with my hands, so it is really hard for me to press a button and then get a USB in there at the same time. But with this, I just grab the top and bottom with my little pliers like so. It holds it still and I can just plug it right in, which was freaking fantastic. When I first saw it, I was a little like, why didn't they put a button on there? But it actually works a lot better like that because my fat fingers are out of the way. So this is my go-to flight controller. It is running a Bosch gyro, which no other flight controller has, that is actually designed for doing things like this. Most of your other flight controllers are running industrial gyros. It also has a SD card for black box if you so choose, but this has on-screen display graph, whatever you want to call it, graph feedouts of your noise. I can't think of the word right now because I'm an idiot, but on the OSD you can pop right into and see each one of your gyro traces for your yaw, pitch, roll, and see if there's noise in it wherever, and move your notch filter right on, you know, go back to your notch filters, and if you got noise at 300, then you move your filter to 300, and that's it. But I've installed these things and had zero problems. Flies like butter out of the box, and have not had to mess with that filtering at all. The other thing is a lot of people are stacking this crossfire on here because it will just line up with the pins and stack right on top. That is up to you. Personally, I do not recommend it or do not want to do it because I use the Immortal T, and it's going to make it really hard to find somewhere to mount this thing if I have it locked in there, or if I move it from build to build and need to put this in a different spot like I'm doing right now. I have it on the wire, but that's totally up to you what you want to do. I have it on the wires so I can stick it wherever I need to make this happen. Okay, so there's that. Freaking awesome. I love these things, my go-to, and we're going to be running the Crossfire on here, as you have already guessed, and of course the amazing, the only VTX I ever use, the TBS Unify Pro. I believe this should be the HV version. Yes, it is. I use the HVs on my freestyles, and of course the races on the race. Now they have the Nano 32-bit, which I have some on the way, and some different race ones, which I have on the way, but we'll check those out at a later date. So now, here's what I recommend. Here's where things get complicated. We're getting close here, and we want to hurry up and get everything together, and we want to fire this quad up so freaking bad. Oh, one other thing, let me point out that it has, on the PDB, it has its own configurable RGBD LEDs on here, and in the user manual online it shows you exactly how to program these. You can make them flash, change colors, beep, blink, bling, whatever you want, which is really freaking cool. I had mine on like a what's it called, the Jake mode or whatever, where they go in circles, Jacob mode, I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, it's cool. You can configure those and it looks all cool inside your quad. So this is where we want to take our time. This is where, because like at first I stuck this, what I do at this point is I get all of my components and I dry fit everything to make sure everything is going to fit and go where I need it to go to make everything work. because if I don't, I will surely end up going back in here and having to fix things. And then you're reaching in with your soldering iron and you're melting wires and collateral damage and stuff like that. So it sucks. Because one of the things I noticed, and if there is one single complaint I have about this setup, is they should have offset these battery leads, your positive and negative leads, out on a little tag here. Because what happens is I wanted to, and it wouldn't have worked anyway, just for the record, but I wanted to stack my flight controller on here, and as you can see, now this is covered up. Not only that, but if I was to solder my leads directly on here, it's going to make it pretty hard for me to get that plug in there. I wanted to stick this out on the side here, and this is part of eyeballing everything up, or right on one of these standoffs so I could zippy tie it off to have some relief on there. But this is where you want to dry fit everything, because after I tried my battery on here, the leads on these the batteries that I'm going to use, because I have 10 of these brand new, or maybe even a dozen of them, but anyway, the lead on this battery is a little shorter than most batteries, so it wouldn't have worked over there. I wouldn't have been able to plug it in. So what I'm going to end up doing is running it out the back here, and then I'll be able to zippy tie it down to some of these holes in the QAV R frame, or zippy tie it off to this standoff over here to give it some relief. Now this PDB does have pads for the battery lead, top and bottom. So as you can see, that's what I ended up doing, is soldering to the bottom and then running these out of the back. So that's why you really want to dry fit absolutely everything all the way. I thought I was good to go up until I got up with the thing on the side, up until I got up to the battery and realized that I wouldn't have been able to plug in my battery. Alright, I had to have a long lead on here. I even, when I dry fit everything, I put the props on to make sure the props aren't going to hit anything. Not all the props, but I just take one prop and check it out to make sure that there's anything that's close to there, you know, it's not going to get chopped or whatever, and make sure everything clears. And that was another issue with putting it on like that. So try everything out. Even put your camera mounts on there, or whatever you're going to use for your GoPro, to make sure you got room to fit them in there. You know, everything. Stick your camera in there, the whole 9 yards. So that being said, our PDB is now good to go. So we're going to slide that little guy on there, and then we're going to start soldering up our ESCs to that. I have a feeling, and I was talking to some guys in the Discord groups earlier, these new line of ESCs that are coming out, like these with the F3 chip, maybe, especially awesome boards like this Brain Radix board, the ESCs are going to be able to start talking to, we may be doing away with the BL Heli configurator. If we have F3 processors in here, there's no reason with digital commands that we can't have the flight controller talking to the ESCs and make that all programmable and configurable without the configurator, just like we do with our flight controllers in the OSD nowadays with the Betaflight OSD and everybody else's OSD. The other thing that came to mind is having these F3s on here. Maybe they can even run their own filtering, so by the time the gyro and the flight controller gets a signal, it's an already filtered signal, and make everything cleaner. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm just the guy that builds and flies. I don't know how to program shit, write code, none of that shit. So, but I have seen things progress in this hobby. I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years, and that's just things that I see happens on, I mean, yeah. So, okay. So, we'll put that conglomeration to the side for now, and we are going to start soldering up our ESCs now that we know where everything is. I put some double-sided sticky tape on the bottom of these, but left the one side of it on there so they're not sticking. That way when I get it soldered in there, I can just pluck that off and instead of trying to stuff them in there. So pre-planning is a big thing with this. I mean, take a minute and back up and really look at everything to make sure it's all going to work, so we're not going backwards and messing I've had to go backwards before and I end up messing something else up, and when I fix one thing I break 2 other things and I end up having to fix 3 things and it sucks. So let's not do that. So this is a pretty simple procedure. All we're going to do here is we're going to get our solder and iron heating up, and then I just run these wires over through their respectable spot that they need to be. One other thing of note, because the way these are positive and negative, the LEDs ended up on the bottom of these, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little spot of hot glue when I stick these down, and that's not even necessarily to hold the ESC, but what it does is it makes like a lampshade on that LED, and will make a nice little glow on those arms. Instead of it just beaming up in the air, it will have a nice little soft glow under those arms. It'll look pretty cool. So said I'm not the super tech guy, but I do know some cool tricks, and hopefully you guys learn something from my little videos here, and you keep watching, and we spread the love, spread the message, not the mess, people. Spread the message, not the mess. Don't feed the fucking trolls. So anyway, what were we doing here? Oh yeah. So when I do these, I always like to do the bigger wires first, because otherwise trying to get those soldered on there with all that heat, I might end up touching one of these little guys and burning the casing off of it somewhere, and then later I don't notice and it's touching a standoff and bzzz, and stupid shit happens, and well, what the fuck is wrong with my quad? Anyway. So what I like to do with these is lay them in their respectable spot, lay the wire all the way across the pad. Maybe I can zoom in here a little bit. I'm really trying to do better camera work for you guys, because I noticed in my last video I had stuff out of shot and hard to see, so I'm trying to get better at this. I am not just gaining experience, so as we go down the road, hopefully I can get better at this and be more helpful to you guys. So what I do is I lay it all the way across the pad and then mark it with my thumbnail or fingernail or a little knife, or bite it with your teeth or whatever you want, but make a little notch mark in there, and then that's where I'm going to cut it. I actually cut it just the other side of that notch to make sure it's long enough, because when we cut them too short, then we got to go back and fix them, and that sucks. And then we're going to eyeball it up. It's actually a little fuzz longer than I want it to be, so I'm going to give her another little clippy poo, and that's perfect. Always cut them a little longer, because you can always cut them shorter, but wire stretchers are very expensive and hard to come by these days, especially the red wire stretchers that work for these. They're, you know, you can usually find them in the blinker fluid aisle. If you need blinker fluid, you can go in the blinker fluid aisle, and they usually have the wire stretchers right next to the ring of folds for the Knudsen valves for your muffler belt. So same thing with this little guy. We're going to make sure the ESC is all the way down to where, with my big hands in the way, to where we want it. We'll lay the wire across the pad. On the other side of the pad, we'll mark it with our nail. Cut it to the other side of the mark. Lay it down again and check it out. Now see there, if I had cut it right at the mark, it might have been too short, because I cut it on the other side of the mark and it is perfect, right where I want it to be. So we strip that, and now we start some solder. Be careful with this right here, guys, because you don't want to be dripping solder on your stuff. So pay attention and take your time. There's no reason to hurry. Anybody can do this crap. I didn't know shit about any of this stuff when I started, but we learn as we go, and now I'm very confident with my soldering and building skills, and it's actually killing me doing this. Luckily, it's been raining like crazy lately, so it's not too bad. It's been raining since I got back from the USA. Gray and raining out, so I haven't been able to fly. Because normally I could slap one, if I wanted to, I could bust one of these builds out in a few hours, because this is the setup that I've been using for a while, so I know how everything goes, even though this is a new frame. And I'm dying to fly it. We're gonna back up just a second here, guys. I want to take this off and go ahead and tin up all these pre-tin up all these pads real quick instead of trying to fight my way around these standoff. I could actually just take these. Actually, I'm probably just going to take these standoffs off to get. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. But I want to tin these up. Tin these up on the outs right here. Another little thing of note. Is that I normally run a capacitor just because it's good for the electronics to have steady voltage. This will be the first build I am going to do in a long time that I am not going to stick a capacitor on to begin with because of the new ESCs, the new Unify with its filtering, the brain with its filtering itself, all that good stuff. Even though I think capacitors are a fairly good idea just to have steady current to your electronics and avoid any voltage spikes. You may not see them in the video or whatever, but it's probably not good for the little chips and so forth to get them. So yeah. Another thing, this setup on my skadoosh frames, I shoot for between 600 and 650 grams on an all-up build. I don't know with these bigger motors if that's gonna, we'll see where it is. I kind of figured it out and it seems like I'm gonna be in that zone. If I go, I've found if I go much over 650, I don't like going, I actually don't, I like my target with making the skadooshes, they came out to be about 620 all up with battery and everything, which is about perfect. It's heavy enough where I get the chuck that I want. I know some guys like lighter quads than that to fly, but anything under 600 grams, I don't get the pop in my throttle to get that nice long throw. You know, like a baseball is a certain weight so that it can be throwing, you know, at that weight. So if you go lighter, then the wind tends to stop you, or for me, that is the weight. And if I go much over 650, I have found, like by sticking on a bunch of 3D printed parts that I don't need, I'm old school, zippy ties and tape. That's going to have, at one point, that is going to have diminishing returns, guys, because what's going to happen is you're going to add so much weight to your quad trying to protect it that you're going to snap arms instead of just like chipping the end of them or whatever, trying to protect the end of them with a bunch of 3D printed stuff. Now the quad's so heavy, it's 800 grams, and you're going to snap arms and break carbon and stuff like that, and then you're going to say that the manufacturer and the frame is junk because you built the thing at freaking 900 grams and it broke. So yeah, so don't do that. Alright, so now here we go. Get this little guy soldered on here. Boom. So it gets a little toasty. I'm going to use my tweezers. And again, like I said in my videos before, get yourself all lined up with these. Make sure the wire is nice and comfortable where you want it. Don't fight it. And then go in with your iron and get out. Real simple. Oh, crap. I forgot to tin the signal wires. I mean, tin the pad for the signal wire. Of course, I haven't tinned the signal wire yet because I haven't even cut them. No big deal. We got this. We got this. We got this right here. And I believe my signal is yellow. Yep. Signal is yellow. So we're going to run that. The other thing that's cool is the brain comes with these nice little rubber grommies that you pop in the holes and slide down on there, so it is soft mounted. Because I was just thinking about this wire getting pinched when I slide the FC down on there, so that came to mind. that is not going to be an issue with the rubber grommies. We're going to give it just a little bit of extra length here so that it comes out around the grommies when we slide them down on there. Same thing here. I'm going to mark it with my fingernail, a little bit of extra length, and give her a little clippy poo, a little strippy poo, and then we'll tin that. Rain tan tan for the win. And that tag's a little long. Like I said, I always like to leave them a fuzz long, but I like nothing but a little teeny nub to solder to. Make sure your wire clippings don't land on here somewhere. Stand your quad up and beat on it and knock all that stuff out of there before you fire anything up and there's a little chunk of wire laying in there. I've had it happen, guys. And my shit went up in smoke and I couldn't fucking figure out why, and I was all pissed off, and then I found a little teeny piece of wire hiding in there. Same thing. We get the pad hot, then stick the wire in, and it comes out nice and neat. Now the black one is our telemetry wire, RX telemetry. So we're gonna run that one over to Chunk. A little extra length. That's what she said. Oh! So there's that. A little clippy poo. A little strippy poo. A little tinny poo. Tweezers. Slide her up in there. Come here. Come here, you little bastard. Make sure we're not touching anything else but the pad as we enter, and boom. There we go, guys. So I am gonna get the rest of these. Crap, this video's long already. I've been yapping for a half hour. Jesus Christ. About like nothing. So we're gonna end it there because you don't need to see me solder up all these ESCs, because they're all going to be done exactly the same way I did that one. No point in all that repetitive stuff. And then in the next vid, I already have all my leads and everything on this soldered up and ready to go. So we are going to slide this down on there and continue on. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope some of this helped. I hope this little build series is cool for y'all. I can't wait to get this freaking thing in the air.